All right, wait on. All right, here we go. All right, so decided that I wanted to do now that school's back in and everything's kind of calmed back down. I want to kind of continue kind of cutting off all the fat so I can get down and see the things I want to see. So whenever I put together a plan like this, whether it's for me or for anybody else, one of the big things we always want to go through are the goals. Now, I'm about 260-ish, 260, 265 right now, depending on how much water I'm drinking. I don't really care that much about my weight. I talk to people all the time that weight's something big of a deal and you shouldn't really focus on it. And I'm not really focused on my weight. So whatever happens with weight, I don't really care. If we go down, great. If we go up, great. I'll monitor it just because people always ask. So real quick, just I'll post these sooner or later, but basically my goals for this over the next 100 days, we'll do this cut. And there are 1,000 ways you could do this. The way I'm doing it is the way that I think will be the most fun and that I want to do it. This is more like a little challenge than it is anything else. So I want to stay in the 250, 255 weight range. Again, I don't care that much if I end up being 245 or 260. I don't really care. I do want to lean out. I do want to see the musculature underneath. So like I want to see my serratus. I want to see my abs without flexing. I want to see the individual muscles in my back. I want to lose this slowly. I don't want to have any saggy skin. I'm 45, so that's a big one for me. I also want to stay in the same clothes. I actually don't want to get any bigger. So I want to stay in the same clothes. And that's pretty much the major focus on that one. I've got all my weights down, my training weights down. I want to stay there. So when we start looking at, for instance, I want to do my flies with cable flies with 60 pounds for 21 reps on my 5th set. And then I still want to be able to do 95-pound dumbbells for a 10-7-5 set. The splits on these are going to be about 90 to 120 seconds. So that's basically where we're going to stay on these, which means strength's going to come up just a touch. I'm going to have to add some more muscle for this one. But we should be still pretty good. These are really close to where I'm at now. So over the next 100 days, I'm actually looking to increase strength, which means I'm going to lay down just a little bit more muscle. And then we're going to cut out as much fat as we can. And I'll be going through all that fun stuff. So I've got these written down. I've still got to do my measurements, but I'll post these somewhere online soon. Now here's the fun thing. So the way I'm going to be eating is, again, I haven't done this on calories. You guys are welcome to put this in calories, and this is where everyone's going to lose their mind. And this is fine. So what I'm looking at doing is I'm doing 347-1s a week. So it's going to end up eating Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Those are the days I eat. The other days I don't. When I do eat, my goals are 80 to 120 grams of protein, 200 to 250 grams of fat. I need at least 60% of that to come from saturated fat. So that's where a lot of this is going to come from. Mostly MCT and butter and steak and stuff like that. Saturated fat is super, super good for you. So here's the thing. So like if you look up, this is why AI is not going to work for actual healthcare. When you look up what's going on, like all these things, like the internet is just like, you have to stay away from, this is the medical system. You have to stay away from saturated fat. It's totally bad for you. Again, the medical system tells you that polyunsaturated fatty acids, seed oils, are what you should be eating. So again, a little bit different. But yeah, so 60% from saturated fat. I've got it broken down a little bit tighter. The carbohydrate functionality is going to be really, really minimum. I'm eating a decent amount of fiber, and I'm eating very little sugar. Some of that sugar is going to come from things like blueberries. So that's kind of how that one's going to be. So here's the so on my fasting days, which are I'm not going to argue, we're not fasting. I'm taking all my supplementation, and then I'm still doing my bulletproof coffee, and then I'm still going to do about 15 to 20 grams per day of protein specifically derived from collagen. And that is to make all the chemistry work out. So now here's the fun thing. I did do the math on this one, and we're looking at about, if you add it all up per day, over the 2-day period from doing the 47 ones with everything that's in it, we're looking at about 1,400 calories, 1,450 calories per day. Now, I am 260. I have roughly 15% body fat. I work out 6 days a week for roughly a little over an hour. So I'm working out pretty hard. So if you put that all in and you ask for maintenance, like, hey, I don't want to gain or lose fat, put that in, just toss this into Google or whatever your AI of choice is, and ask, be like, how many calories a day should this person maintain? I'm a 6 foot tall man, 260 pounds, 15% body fat, 6 days a week for an hour, so hard workout. It's going to tell you somewhere between 4,200 and 4,500 calories a day to maintain. And so you can kind of do the math on this. If we're doing roughly 100 grams of protein, that's 400 calories. If we're doing 220, what is that? 200 times it's 18. So you're looking at about 2,200 calories a day on the days that I eat. And then since we're doing that every half day, the number I came up with was roughly over the 48-hour period, you're looking at about 1,400 calories. Again, I've got to increase muscle mass, I've got to increase strength, and then I've got to decrease fat. So that's kind of where I'm at. And so when we start looking at, where we're trying to break all these things down, that's where it is. So I'll put the body measurements in, and when I get those later today, and I'll post all this stuff so that you guys can see it. But that's basically where we're at, and that's kind of where we're trying to go with it. So, and I'll do some check-ins and stuff like that, probably, I don't know, once or twice a week. So that's kind of where we're starting. And so we're going to do for the next 100 days, we're going to do just a general cut. But here's the fun thing, like on the food, I want to eat what I want to eat. So I'm going to have, ice cream. I'm going to have chocolate chip cookie dough. I'm going to have toffee, chocolate and chocolate, what is it, walnut, or maybe it's almond. Anyway, the chocolate pecan, the chocolate toffee I eat. I'm going to have pecan pie. I'm going to have my loaded nachos. I'm going to have pizza. I'm going to have some calzones. I'm going to have all those things. That's the diet that I want to maintain. So I want to eat the things I want to eat. I want to do it in the way I want to do it. And, we're going to try to get down to getting the function that I always wanted, which is seeing the musculature on the body. So for those of you who were wondering, how I put it together and how I do it, this is how I do it. This is not by any stretch of the imagination the only way to do this. It's the way that works best for me. Now, here's the big thing. When you're designing a diet, it depends entirely on the person. I was working with the pro yesterday. I was talking to him about sugars and stuff like that. And he's actually an ectomorph. And so he needs a ton of sugars and a ton of, fat and protein to get where he's trying to go. As an endomorph, I don't. And so when you start seeing some of this stuff, you're like, well, this would never work for me. It probably wouldn't. So, those are some of those things. Random question. Can an 18-year-old grow taller using Sermorelin? Yeah, if the growth plates aren't closed. It has nothing to do with age. It's entirely based upon if your growth plates are open or not. So that brings up a good question. I will probably not, I'm not planning on using any specific peptides, depending on how well. I'll use melatonin because I do want to maintain I don't want to get super white. So I'll use some melatonin too as we go through. I will probably use a very low level of growth hormones. Leave that one open just in case anything happens. I'm not planning on using any GLP-1s or retatrutide or any of that type of stuff. So we'll kind of see how it plays out. But that's kind of where we're going to go. And so when people start asking questions, well, should I run this or no, you probably shouldn't. This is what my body requires. I've worked with a lot of people that require a whole lot less. I've worked with a lot of people who need more, but I've worked with a lot of people who need less than this. The 47-1 is not something that very many people need to do. My favorite function stuff is I like to eat once a day. So So that's kind of where a lot of this stuff is again, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And then function afterwards is maintenance. And so if I'm eating 47, if I'm doing a 47-1 and that allows me to cut, would I then go back to eating every day, same meals, should be just fine. And so that's kind of the idea. So the idea is to cut it down and then maintain it. So the goal should hopefully be that we're maintaining everything here in a couple of weeks. I say a couple of weeks, here in about 100 days. Because I'm looking to do about a 100-day cut. So we'll kind of see where it all ends up. If you guys have any questions, just have questions at chalmerswellness.com, or you can just put them in the DMs as you always do. So that's kind of where we're at. If you guys have any other questions, we'll talk to you then. Otherwise, this is kind of where we're at, where we're going to go. We'll take pictures and all that fun stuff later today. You guys have a fantastic day. Thanks for your time.